So today we are having our Chevening session, Chevening application session, organized by current Chevening Scholars from Kenya. Before I continue, I'm sorry, my name is Frido Como. I'm a current Chevening Scholar, 2023-2024. I'm studying my master's in global development at the University of Leeds, currently in the UK. I'm currently in the UK. And I also have some amazing Chevening Scholars with me. They're going to take us through today's session. So it's going to be interactive and engaging. Chevening essays are the most critical part of the Chevening application process, actually. So this is the most important part. And with that understanding, we want to take you through, provide insights, show you how maybe you can align your vision, your leadership, your networking, and your course study to your career plan, to your future plans, and what are the strengths, what can stand out in your essays, what you really need to focus on, and some of the mistakes that you make. So being people who have gone through the process, we are here to guide you, to help you, and provide the insights. So the first person with us is going to take us through the Chevening application process. I do understand that most of the people who are attending this session have not yet submitted their essays. They are currently writing or have not started. So we do believe that by the end of this session, you'll be having much information for you to go ahead in writing your essays, reinforcing them and making them like strong and to stand out and hopefully be the next Chevening Scholar come next year. So the first speaker of today is Josiah Carrier. He's going to take us through the general essay writing, Chevening essay writing, from what you need to focus on, how you need to go about that. So a bit about Josiah. Josiah now, is a current Chevening Scholar. He's pursuing his master's in development management at the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, where he seeks to specialize in applied development economics. So his expertise extends to gender-related issues, where he possesses subject matter proficiency in gender mainstreaming, gender analysis, gender budgeting, and gender equality and policy advocacy. So I'm going to invite Josiah to take us through the first session of today. Josiah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Frida, for that flowing introduction. Good evening, good morning. How are you, everyone? As introduced, my name is Josiah Kiari, studying development management at LSE, courtesy of the Chevening Scholarship. So I'll be making a presentation on essay writing. So my presentation would be going up in a second or so. Frida, let me know when it goes up.
Yes, we can see your presentation. Yes.
And it's full screen, I hope.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so the presentation is titled What You Need to Know About the Chevening Essay Writing. So we'll be delving into the essays that Chevening requires us or you to write as an applicant. So this is the basic content. We'll be generally looking at the Chevening Scholarship on an overview of sorts, then benefits, the timelines, then there's the writing part bits of it, and then that will be it. We also have current Cheveners who will give their take on each of these essays, having gone through the process. So we'll also listen to what their take is on each of these essays. Just a moment as I do something. Yeah, right. Great. So let us generally look at the scholarship. So we all know, and this is information that is available on the website, that this scholarship is by the UK government, and we'll be concentrating on the scholarship itself because there's another aspect or component of a fellowship program. But this webinar focuses on the scholarship that was opened on I think 12th September and closes on November 7th. So that will be the focus of this webinar. So it's funded by FCDO, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and partner organizations. So 56,000 people have passed through this. The global alumni population, including 19 heads of state. So it has a couple of prominent people, like in Kenya, Amina Mohammed. I think those of us from Kenya know her. Hassan Wario, Betty Maina, Joaquin Dungu, among others. So the applications, as I said, are open. So if you're interested in applying, please go ahead. And I just want to emphasize that the Chevening website is like the source of all things Chevening. So this tip number one, if you're applying and want to know about the scholarship, including essay writing tips, the best place for you to start would be the Chevening website. So this is the 2023-2024 cohort. This is us, the people who are on this webinar facilitating. So you can see the cohort here. So what are some of the benefits quickly? The master's degree you get is 1 year. So in Kenya and in many places, a master's degree usually takes you 2 years. Georgina, you may want to unmute. Yeah, so in this case, you get to study your master's degree in a year, which is pretty awesome. Then you also have a wide choice of universities to choose from. Some master's degrees would require you to stick to specific degrees and in specific universities, but not Chevening. So it gives you a choice. You can choose to do whichever course you want from any university in the UK and they will fund it. So very, very flexible. Of course, the financial support, which is like a major part of that component, is really attractive. And also you get to have networking opportunities. You meet people from different nationalities, many places. For those who like football, you can follow the English Premier League. For those who like traveling, London is well connected to other cities in Europe. So if you want to go to France and see the Eiffel Tower, if you want to go to Germany, if you want to go to some other European countries, you can fulfill that when you're here. So the benefits are immense. And I think my colleagues will also add some of the benefits that come through this. The application timeline, I won't go through this because it's on the website and you can go to the chevening.org and look at the timelines for application. But right now it is open and it will close on November 7th. So I'm skipping that and heading straight to the essay writing, which is why we are here. And some general tips on essay writing. I hope you can see my screen. This is perhaps the most critical aspect because from all the essays that will be written, then there will be reading committees that sift out the best essays and pick them and shortlist the best essays for interviews, the applicants for interviews. So you're required to write 4 essays, and we will highlight each one of these. Number 1 is the leadership and influence essay. 2, the relationship building and shared learning essay. Study in the UK, career plan. So don't worry about this now. We'll go into deeper. We'll go into them deeper in subsequent presentations. So a lot of personal introspection is required when you're writing this. You need to reflect on all your experiences so that you bring out the best experiences to highlight in these essays. It's very critical for you to be original in your story. That's why people ask for essays from current scholars or previous scholars. You're not given those essays because they will water down your story. And I think is a very critical component. The more original the story is, I think the higher chances that it will pass because they have read these essays before, so they know what people have been writing. But an original idea will always stand out. The other thing is to choose a theme, and this is very personal. I did this. I used, I got admission to study development management at LSE, and the focus area for my degree is development financing. And I used this as the central theme in my essays. So when I was giving for instance, the leadership essay talks about you giving your leadership qualities and how you have, led initiatives and given and achieved results. So I used the theme of development financing in all my examples and showcased how I led initiatives that led to funding of development, whether it's networking, how I network, and the results were some issues related to improving development financing policies in Kenya. So across all that, across all sections and across all the essays, there was a theme that stringed along my thoughts. And perhaps it's one of the things that maybe I feel helped me. The other thing is to use the STAR approach. If you haven't heard about the STAR approach, Google it. But in a nutshell, S stands for situation, R is T is the task, A is action, and R is the result. So situation is the context, the task is what you're required to do, action is what you did, and the results is what you achieved by implementing your action. So you may want to read on that approach, and my co-presenters may also touch on it as they make their presentation. But the key to this is the STAR approach. If you want your essay to stand out and give you structure, because you have all these abstract ideas. So how do you structure them into something that is systematic, easy to follow? Because the reviewers have many essays to read. So they also will find it easy reading your essays. The other thing is paying attention to grammar and just polish your essay writing skills. You can just Google or just approach someone and find ways of learning how to write proper essays. How to structure a paragraph, because that's very critical. You don't want your ideas jumbled all over without a structure. When someone looks at the first sentence, they can already tell what the first sentence is about, and the other sentences sort of explain what you said in the first sentence. That is the essence of essay writing. Very critical aspect in the essay writing. So over now to the actual essays, and Waithera, who is here with us, current Shivna, is handling this. So she will explain and give more tips about this. But these instructions will appear that Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders, influencers in their home countries. Explain how you meet this requirement using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answer. So remember to use the STAR approach as I explained earlier to structure your essay, and more so use recent examples that you have shown leadership from your professional experience or your educational experience, but they have to be current. I think, in my view, try to maintain very current examples, as current as you can get, which are relevant, of course, to the theme that you want to bring out, and the study that you seek from UK universities. 1 to 3 examples. Chevening says 1 or 2, so I think 2 for me was good enough. In my examples, I gave 2, but I know of people who have given 3, but I haven't had anyone who has given 4 or 5. because you only have 500 words to write this essay on leadership and influence. So how many examples can you give? You'd rather give few examples and really bring out the key issues and showcase your abilities. So emphasize how you have shaped opinions is very important because leaders shape opinions. So you need to bring out the language of I led, I liaised, such language that shows you are in control of situations. It matters. The other thing is give your strongest example. So when you're writing, you have examples and you need to think about those examples that you have critically so that you point out which is my strongest example and use that one first. So that when someone just reads your first example, they are more interested in reading your other examples and the rest of your essay. So give your strongest example first. So towards the end, give a leadership example from other interests in your community. So think of it as you want to be an all-rounded person. For instance, you work or you're in school, but you're also in church, or you're also a member of a certain group, a chama or something, a social group. So you want to give your answers connected to your area of expertise first. That's the first example, but just hinge in towards the end a few two lines or 3 lines about other things you do. For instance, in my case, I said in my spare time, I mentor students who are or persons interested in pursuing master's degrees in the UK, and through mentorship, online sessions, I have been able to support 2 scholars to get scholarships in the UK. Those 2 lines were enough for me as one of the things I do besides my development financing leadership that I do. So I centered that as my other things that I do. So as you finish, reinforce your commitment to using the scholarship to continue improving lives. So just show how Chevening fits into the scheme of things, so that they can connect Chevening to contributing to improving you as a leader. Remember, Chevening is a leadership program. So if there's anything that you can say about Chevening and leadership, then I think it will give you some more marks. Yeah, and remember the word limit is 500. So usually aim to be around close to 500. Yeah, you may not say much with 100 words, so you want to stretch it a bit close to 500 as possible, but not more. The second essay is relationship building and shared learning essay. It's also known as the networking essay previously. So if people will be referring to it as the networking essay, but I think in the last year it was known as the relationship building and shared learning, relationship building and shared learning essay. And Sylvia, who's here with us, will also be sharing more about this. But briefly, these instructions will appear that Chevening is looking for individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in their chosen profession. Please explain how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity, using clear examples of how you currently do this and outline how you hope to use these skills in the future. You may use the STAR approach again here in this essay just to give you structure of your essay so that someone is able to see what the situation was or what the problem was, what you are required to do, that is the task, and then the action that you took to address that challenge or issue, and the results that you achieved. So share examples of building new relationship during employment or volunteering. And this is a personal tip, or personal view rather than things that happen in school or university. Even if you're there, but you have other volunteering things that you do on the side, or not really connected to your reading. This is very personal and my own view. So you give 2 or 3 examples. I think it would be sufficient. The 2 would be appropriate. I gave 2. So one of the things that you can do is mention the networks that you are and the relationships that you are in, and mention them. And these relationships could be with a person, a professional one. For instance, I gave in one of my examples how I wanted to submit a memoranda, and I had done an analysis of the budget in Baringo County. And I wanted to submit this analysis to inform the budgeting year in Baringo in 2021. And I had met this person in the gender department. So I mentioned this person, and through this person, he connected me to the finance and economic planning department in Baringo County, and I submitted my memoranda. And as a result, I mentioned that the county responded by allocating a certain amount to a peace building program, contributing to financing of development, of course, which is my central theme. So that is one of the examples I gave. Another example I gave is that I coordinate a network known as the Kenya Budget Network. So it brings together actors in public finance management, and I organize quarterly meetings, capacity building sessions for them. I have a database where I monitor which has their contacts and emails, so to make it easy for communication with them and such things. So give such examples. So it's how you build the networks, and it's through meeting people. Maybe you go to a conference and meet this person, and what you do with that person, how you maintain that network. For instance, in my case, the example I gave on the Kenya Budget Network is that there are quarterly meetings and so forth. There's a newsletter and such things. So, and how you have used them to help you in achieving something. So I mentioned, of course, like in the issue of budgeting, through that person, I was able to submit my memorandum that resulted in an allocation of this amount of money. Through the network, I've been able to meet other people like the UK Women's Budget Group, and I invited them over to conduct a training in Kenya, and I was trained on gender responsive budgeting. So I showed that I benefited from that. Then indicate that how Chevening will of course help you in building your relationship building and shared learning. There's someone who is unmuted, and Erika Grace disrupting the meeting. You may unmute. Yeah, so remember, Chevening opens you up to a massive network of scholars, a big number from all over in the world. So you may want to mention that. It also has a global alumni. You can say you want to take advantage of that. The other thing is also say how you wish to contribute to the network. So I mentioned something about doing something like what we are doing today, organizing forums to create awareness and ensuring that marginalized students in Kenya access the scholarship, supporting in awareness campaigns of the program on social media, where I have a considerable following, and so forth. So such things that show your contribution to the alumni network, I think makes you stand out. The study in the UK, I said that will be handled by Wanjiro, who is with us today. Thank you, Wanjiro. So this also, similarly to previous instructions in other sections, will appear. Outline why you have selected your chosen 3 courses and explain how this relates to your academic and or professional experience and your plans for the future. Please do not duplicate information you have entered on the work experience and education. So again, you're required to make 3 choices of universities. You are not expected to gain admissions to them before you submit the essays. So you can dedicate time, writing your essays. But you have to do research and really research on and identify the 3 courses that you want to pursue. So demonstrate you have an understanding of those courses, why you have chosen them. So basically just highlighting the reasons, and you could look at the modules. You could look at the lecturers or professors that are teaching them. You can look at publications that those professors have made and say that is your motivation to studying in those those universities. So avoid copy pasting things from the university websites, but just synthesize and relate that to your current experiences and the knowledge that you want to gain. And I can see, I think I have 2 minutes to wrap this up. So emphasize how studying your courses will help you to achieve your goals and benefit your home country. It's very important because as much as this scholarship will benefit you, the investment is meant to, help your country solve some challenges. So mention something also that the UK is doing in your country. And a tip I was given is make sure it is unique. Because my focus was on development financing, I said that the UK was among the first country to come up with the concept of public-private partnerships. And I put that in the essay. And I gave examples of hospitals that have been funded by private partnerships in the UK. So it was very specific. I said that's why I want to study in the UK to learn how these programs are implemented. Career plan essay, I think I will leave this to Anjiko to share more about this as she does her presentation. Thank you so much for watching this. And hopefully by the end of this, we will all be writing those award-winning essays. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Josiah, for that wonderful presentation. I know it was really insightful and very in-depth, but now we have 4 more speakers. They're going to share the experience with the essays, I mean the leadership, networking, course study, and the career plan. And I may not be able to track all the questions in the chat box, but I'll try to do that and answer some of them. And maybe the presenters can also help me in answering some of them. But at the end, we are going to have a Q&A where we are going to give you an opportunity to ask questions to the presenters. So I'm going to invite the next presenter who is going to share about leadership and influence, that is Waithera Chege. So a bit about her. She is a current Chevening Scholar from Kenya, pursuing a master's in global health at the University of Glasgow. Her passion lies in community improvement with a strong commitment to enhancing community well-being. So Waithera, welcome. You can feel free to introduce yourself more if it really relates to, again, the Chevening Scholarship. So yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Freda. Thank you, Josiah, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are all doing well and took something from Josiah's very insightful presentation. So I will not add anything to my introduction. I'll just dive into the leadership part. And based on how this question appears, it's normally the very first question among the essays. So that tells you it's probably one of the most important questions that you will answer, because it builds a foundation for the rest of your essays and even for the rest of your story. Because your story does not end with the essay. It continues throughout the Chevening application process. That is all the way to the interview. So I think most of us have this leadership is mystified. It's like I have to be a big person, I have to hold a big position, or I have to be earning this certain amount of money, or I have to be doing big things for me to be considered a leader. I also used to think the same. However, for Chevening and what they're looking for the scholarship is somebody who can influence other people and make a difference in society. It's not necessarily somebody in a managerial position. It does not have to be CEOs or managers or executive, those big positions or politicians. Some of us think that's who a leader is. And in our communities, that's who we see talking about certain things in our, in society. So it depends on what exactly you are doing or your goal and your motivation. It can be something as simple as Josiah has said, mentoring students to do something, and you literally guiding those students until they're able to improve their lives. So be looking at that societal impact that you are creating. So at the back of your mind, I want you to believe in whatever you're doing, however small, but make it seem big, amplify it, but do not lie. Do not lie when you're talking about leadership. So you have to show that you know exactly what you're doing. It has to have a reason. It has to have a purpose. And it must be consistent throughout your leadership essay. It needs to come out also in your networking essay, in your why you want to study in the UK, and your career plan. So it has to be very consistent. And when I was doing my application, I focused a lot on giving examples, because the question tells you to explain how you are a leader and give specific examples. So many of us get carried away with these examples. So I had a lot of examples. And I went and wrote them. I have done this, I've done this, I've done this, and I've done this. So by the time I was sending my essay to somebody to review, and I was very lucky to have a former Chevener, really somebody who is really advanced in her career. I think she got the Chevening Scholarship more than 10 years ago. And she was well accomplished woman. I had never met her, but she went through my essay and told me, you need to start over, because you just don't give examples, give them a purpose, give them some meat. It is okay to do what you're doing, but why? There's somebody in the market, so I'm doing something. Yeah, so that's what I wanted you to have in mind before I can oh, was I on mute that entire time?
Not the entire time, just like a few
sorry.
seconds.
Sorry. All right, thank you. So as you're selecting your leadership examples, please focus on 3 things. Number 1, you select the most powerful examples that you have. Number 2, you have to select the latest leadership examples you have. For example, if you have been working for 5 years now and you want to go back all the way to high school and tell us how you were a captain of this and you did this and this like more than 10 years ago, that may not hold enough water. Because as a leader, you need to continue showing your leadership throughout your education and throughout your career. So the latest, the better. And also make them very, very relevant to what you're trying to portray. So in addition to that, like I said, when you're selecting your leadership and when you're writing your leadership essay, you need to focus, I think, three important things that my reviewer, the review of my essay, made me, well, told me to do. You have to make sure you say your motivation. I cannot emphasize this enough. Don't just say, I am a youth leader in the community. I convene people to, to talk about drugs or crime or something like that. It's okay to do that. That's very good. But why are you doing it? What is your motivation? What is your drive? What is your story? Why? Is it because you have lived in that area and you have experienced how crime has affected people and you want to bring change? You want to improve your, your town, the place you come from. Or for people, I'm in healthcare. So for people in healthcare, it may be you experienced challenges accessing healthcare at some point in your life, and now you want to make that better so that other people do not go through the same. It can be something as simple as that. It can also be what we are doing right now in this webinar. The other Cheveners and myself, we are beneficiary of this program. Now we want to come back and help you and mentor you to also benefit through this program. So it's something as simple as that, paying it forward or creating a difference in society. And the other thing is you have to show your passion as a leader. Why are you doing all the work you're doing? Why is it important? What makes you the kind of leader that you are? You have to infuse all this in your essay. So as much as you're giving examples, and it's very important to use the STAR approach that Josiah went through. But you have to do not just focus on that STAR approach. Do not make it very, it might look very synthetic. You're just saying your situation, your task and everything. Make sure that it grips somebody's attention. Your reader, you have exactly 500 words to convince the person who is reading your essay that you are actually a leader and they should pay attention and they should read the other essays that you have written. Because like we said, this is your first contact with the potential sponsor. So you have to grasp their attention. And then the last pointer on this leadership is you have to say how getting a Chevening Scholarship is going to help you get there. It's okay, we understand that you're a leader because of this and this and this, and you want to do this. But why do you want to, how will Chevening make you a better leader? And one thing about the scholarship or the Chevening Scholarship is that it enhances your leadership skills. It gives you a platform to exercise them and to take initiative. You're encouraged to volunteer, to do things like you're doing right now and stuff like that. So you have to see how the scholarship is going to make you an even better leader in your society. So when you're writing that essay, you can choose to structure it by having an introduction. The introduction is where you state your purpose and your goal, and just introduce the reader to who you are as a person. Tell them why you're doing, what your goal is, and that you are a leader. You do not have to start defining leadership. Leadership means this and this and this, but mention that I am a leader. I am already a leader because of this and this, and I am in this space because of this and this and this. So your inspiration, like we said. Then once you do your nice introduction, now you can go to your leadership activities or the examples. Personally, my essay had 3. I had 3 leadership examples. Josiah said he had 2. I don't know, maybe the rest can tell us how many examples they give. More than 3 is going overboard. So you just give 3 relevant, most probably the latest ones, and the most powerful examples. So sometimes you may have to gamble. Hey, do I drop this? You may want to write everything or show this person that you're doing 10 things that show your leadership. However, that denies you a chance to concentrate on one thing and show how it fits in your context. So you can choose 3 powerful ones and focus on them and make sure the story is consistent. Your story is consistent from one example to the next. Whatever motivates you to do 1, 2, 3, it has to be all leading to your purpose that you mentioned in introduction. So your leadership examples and how, most importantly, if you use the STAR approach, you'll do this very well, but your impact needs to come out very clearly. It's okay you do mentorship, like I did. One of my examples was mentorship. I do high school mentorships because I was beneficiary of a mentorship program, which was also a scholarship program. So my motivation or my impact is to help other students walk that journey, but have an easier time than I did, so that they can succeed. And that way, my community, they go back and help their families, because most of them come from underprivileged backgrounds. So once they help their families, if 10 people help their families, that is 10 families that have been helped to, to come out of poverty. At the end of the day, it's an entire community. Many communities make a nation. Many nations make a, it's the globe. So it's like a global influence. So you have to amplify your voice, make it clear that whatever I'm doing may be small. I mean, it's just one student possibly, but this student, the impact, it's like a ripple effect. You help them, they help somebody else, and you achieve your goal in the end. And then make sure they all have a common thread, and like I said, they are all leaning toward or leading towards your purpose. And then finally, in your conclusion, you have to reiterate explicitly what your full intention is. And your intention here is to leverage the skills that you gain from the scholarship, and that are going to make you an even more effective leader. Leadership does not end with getting a Chevening scholarship. You have to mention that you want to keep learning more during the scholarship and sharpen your leadership skills. You want to do more for, and especially in regards to what the scholarship is about and what the UK is doing in your country. So it would really be helpful if your examples and your activities align with the needs of the scholarship, and also the needs of the UK, but also with your needs and your goals as an individual. But at the end of the day, your story, I cannot emphasize this enough, your story has to come out clearly, your passion has to be clear, you have to capture your readers' attention so that they can go to the next essay expecting to see how you build your networks and how you you will become an even better leader in the society after you study in the UK, especially with a Chevening scholarship. Finally, many of us may feel the need to exaggerate. We will think that Chevening cannot come and start checking in my community whether I actually have a group that I lead, or like they don't have the time to come check on individual stories. But the way this application process is structured is such a way that even if you lie, they will know. It will be so hard for you to lie throughout the application, and especially at the interview stage. So if your story is true, it's genuine, you believe in it, and it is consistent, you will have a very easy time throughout the process and throughout the interview. So do not be tempted to think, oh, I can get somebody to fake for me a certificate that I am a church leader, or I started this CBO or this self-help group. So be very honest and make it personal, like make it's what you do. It has to be genuine and something you believe in. So that is what I had for the leadership part. I don't know whether it was clear and it helped you when you're going to write your essays. In case of questions, we can address them later. Thank you, Frida.
Thank you so much, Frida. That was so insightful. Just to emphasize what maybe they're saying just in a nutshell before I call on Sylvia, is that when you're writing your essays, I think it needs to be wholesome. I know most of us have done so many things in the community. So when you're writing your essays, for me, I'll recommend don't bring an example that you feel is too big and doesn't connect with your work from the leadership to the career plan. Make sure that what you're saying, however small it is, but you can maybe explain it with the how rather than stating. Even the most limited, let me say, small example that you may feel that they're very small, they're very important. So try and give examples that give your essays, all your essay, a wholesome look. a connection from the start to the end. So as we continue, I'm going to invite Sylvia to talk about the next part of the essays, that is relationship building. So a bit about Sylvia. Sylvia is an advocate of the High Court with experience in legislative review, policy analysis, campaign financing, and access to information. She is currently pursuing Masters in Public Policy and Governance at the University of Sheffield. She's going to take us through the relationship building part of the essay. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you so much, Frida. And thank you, Josiah, for hosting this. As Frida has mentioned, my name is Sylvia Katua, and I'll be taking you through the relationship building part of the essays. So as has also been mentioned earlier, this is also what is known as the networking essay. So you'll hear the words being interchanged, either networking or relationship building and shared learning. So to be quite honest, this was one of the hardest essays I wrote. Actually, I remember I kept putting it off when I was writing my Chevening essays, and I think I wrote it last because I didn't know where to start. And I think now, based on my experience, I can be able to share what I think is very important and what can be very useful to you also as you write your essays. So I think the first thing is to note that the essay does not just require you to only state how you need to build relationships. I think when you read the question that Chevening puts out, it asks how you build professional relationships. You also have to think about how you build relationships, maintain them, and also extend these relationships with others. So not only for yourself, but also with others. So it's mainly about your networks. Who do you know? How have they helped you? How have you helped them? And lastly, what kind of an addition or what value addition will you bring to the Chevening network? So how have the people you've met in your career, in your academic journey? So if you've worked, Chevening has a work 2-year professional work limit that you need to have met. So if you've worked for perhaps the past 5 years, as was in my case, I didn't really need to have to put in maybe my networking experience from high school or even perhaps campus. So if you can, as Waithera has mentioned, if it's recent, the better. The more recent examples you have, the better it is. So which people have you met? Are you in a professional association? If you're a lawyer, we have the Lawyers Society of Kenya. If you're an architect, I'm sure you also have such a professional association for engineers and such. So have you joined such an association? If you have, how have you helped them? How has it helped you? That's one of the networks that they're looking at. Then also, it's important to also, if you've had any issues, like if you've had a professional issue, again, like for lawyers, maybe you were in a protest and then you were arrested and then LSK came to your rescue. That's one way your network has helped you, and you can mention that. Something to also note is very many people fall for the common mistake of regurgitating the leadership and influencing essay under the networking essay, and that is not the case. But you'll find that the examples are the same. So where you did show leadership, there was an element of networking, but in your networking essay, you really have to bring it out. You have to show who did you meet, or rather, who did you help? How did it help you? You had Josiah mention how he met an officer in the Baringo County office who assisted him to push forward his memorandum. And it's the same for you. Perhaps you are working in an area, perhaps you are doing something, you met so-and-so. I see there's a tendency to avoid mentioning names of people. I think it depends, it's a preference, whether or not you'd want to mention a person. So in my case, I did not mention people. I just mentioned that I met a person from this entity. I met a person from this organization. And then you're able to show what happened to that. So what the other issue I see, and from some of the issues I've also been reviewing, is that very few people show the outcome. Yes, you attended a conference, courtesy of someone or something, then what? What next? You're not showing us the impact of that networking. So you have to show us the outcome, what the end goal was. And then, so you can really build up on the examples that you gave in the leadership and influence in essay, as Waithera has mentioned. It's a story. All four essays are connected. So you have to make sure, because the person who's going to read your leadership and influence in essay is the same person who's going to read your study in the UK essay and the other essay, the career plan essay. So it has to be a story that's flowing from beginning to end. This person is a leader because of this. This person has these skills for networking because of this. This person wants to study in the UK because of this. And then this is what's going to happen after this person studies. So there's a clear plan that can be able to be seen from all your essays. Then in terms of mentioning who you interacted with, other people who have assisted you, also those who you've assisted. You've also heard of mentorships, perhaps if you have mentees and what they've gone on to do and how proud you are of them, mention that. This can be colleagues, professional associations, can be your lecturers. How did they assist you in one way or another? Avoid personal relationships. When we talk about relationship building, we don't actually mean personal relationships. This is very professional, because Chevening wants to see how this will assist you in your professional journey. Remember, you're still applying for an academic course, for a master's, so it has to be very related to that. Then remember to highlight the examples as I've mentioned, and each example again has to go back to leadership, because how will you be a leader if you don't have the skills to network, or you don't have the networking skills and building on them? So you really have to connect them and try to make sure that you portray the leadership. Then what skills did you gain? When we build relationships, I think something else about this is I guess it's a double-edged sword, because when we talk about building relationships, how do you make friends? If you think about it in a very simple manner, you make friends because you're nice, you're friendly, you share the same interests, you're funny, such things. And those are the things we want to see when in your essay, in terms of highlighting how you met people or how you helped people. What skills did you use to form those relationships? Then what skills did you gain? I learned patience. Personally, I learned patience in my Chevening journey. I learned trust, perhaps, and such things. That's how you establish relationships, and that's how you also show how you build your networking skills. And remember, we're talking about meaningful relationships. So don't pick some random encounter you met with a famous person in 2016, and probably if we even call that person right now, they'll be like, who is Sylvia Katua? But even just day-to-day examples, and I'll tell you a bit about what my essay was about. And then lastly, but not least, is how will this all benefit the Chevening network? The current Chevening network has over 50,000 alumni, I think about 56,000. And we've seen that they're very prominent people, not just in Kenya, but across the globe, who are doing some fantastic things. So what makes you so special? What networks do you bring? What skills do you bring to interact with other new people that you will not meet before? Remember, you're also going to a new country. We're in the UK. We didn't know people perhaps in our universities. I guess it depends. But how will you interact with them? How will you build meaningful relationships? And how will they even remember you when you leave there? That's what Chevening wants to see. And they want to see how your networking skills aligns with the Chevening network, one, and secondly, also with your career goals. So again, make sure that the examples that you give align with your career goals or whatever you want to study, because again, it's an essay, it's a story. Remember, it's a story about Sylvia Katua on this issue. So in terms of how it will benefit the Chevening network, things like what we're doing currently, trying to help other future Chevening alumni, future Chevening scholars rather, but it can also be how you've networked with previous Chevening scholars, so past, present, and future scholars. So don't limit yourself in terms of time. And then also in terms of your career goal, like now for me, in terms of policy, which is a slight shift from law, but not entirely, just to build up on that in my networking skills, and to say that the networks I've already formed will help me further in my career plan because of 1, 2, 3. It has already been mentioned by my colleagues about being specific. How exactly did you meet these people? Why are they relevant? How are they relevant? How exactly did they help you? One thing about Chevening essays is avoid being general, be very specific. And again, We do not want fiction. It is real examples, because then, as Josiah mentioned, it's a lot of introspection. You really have to sit down and do a deep dive into yourself and remember, okay, this and this happened, and that's how I ended up going for this conference, and at that conference I ended up meeting so and so, and that's how I ended up landing my current job. Something like that. That's one way you networked, and that's how you built a network. We've also mentioned the STAR approach. I think it's very important. In my case, I tweaked it a bit. I used something known as IFLAC, which is more legal, but again, it's just the same concept. You provide what was the situation is now the issue, then you provide the facts, how did it happen, then you analyze it, and then you end up concluding. So that's also a good way to approach it. So the results in that regard. I've spoken about past, present, and future Chevening scholars. If you've interacted with them, if they've helped you in any way, that would be a great way to highlight that relationship. Again, I have to keep reminding you don't have to mention that you met the president. You don't have to mention that you met members of parliament. Just any person that you have met who has helped you in one way or another, or perhaps just build a relationship that both of you gained something. So that's also something to remember. Don't only make it seem like you're the only person who gained something in that relationship. It has to be a two-way street. Relationships are two ways. So you have to make sure that that's clear. You don't want to also look selfish in your essays. In my essay, as I conclude, I focused on two examples in my relationship building essay. So first, I focused on previous relationships. So in my where I used to work before getting the Chevening Scholarship, I used to work with very different stakeholders, either in government actors or civil society, private sector. So trying to just work with all those actors requires an interesting set of skills. And so I had to mention how navigating that sort of work required very many skills, and I built relationships which have, which continue to date, and which also benefited the organization. Then secondly, my second example was about forming. I gave an example of how I formed a new relationship. So one day in our office, someone came to visit our management within the office, and I was there, and I had a conversation with them, and I outlined what I do. I spoke about our work. I spoke about my work that I was doing at the time. And then because of my legal background, I ended up being invited on my first ever podcast. And so I highlighted how that was such a new experience for me. And because of that relationship, I ended up, gaining, I wouldn't want to say recognition, but, being on a larger platform as opposed to just being quiet before. So something like that, and you see that's interesting. Josiah has also mentioned, if you have a very wide, huge social media following, it's important to say that you met so-and-so via social media, this happened, this was the end result. And you can see in my situation, in my example, I gave the situation, what happened, the work that I did, and what I ended up speaking about. And then I also mentioned how it would benefit Chevening network from the skills I had gained through the networking, the relationships I had formed in my workplace, the relationships I had formed throughout law school, and all the people I had met throughout, and how that would benefit the current Chevening network, and also future Chevening scholars, such as you guys. And I think this is one way which we are giving back. So I think that would generally be it. Something else to note is, while the maximum number of words is 500 words, don't feel compelled to reach 500 words. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this was one of my hardest essays. I think I wrote to the shortest, if I'm not wrong. And so I really try to limit it. Make sure you put that what is there is relevant. You also don't want to put too many words that end up being irrelevant and lagging or dragging down your essay. You want to make sure that it's very short, specific, beautiful, and just sweet. You want to make sure that the person who's reading it is like, I understand this person. This is a person who can speak, who can articulate themselves clearly. And this is a person who is able to network and meet new people and leveraging on this network for impact and for greater good. So that would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for that, for sharing your experiences and the insights to help in the course study part of the essays. So we are going to the last part of the essays, that is the career plan And just to know that this is one of the most important part of the essays, the Chevening. Chevening really wants you to highlight how you plan, like maybe after pursuing your master's degree, how do you plan to come back and enhance development or continue with your work and maybe strengthen the relation between UK and Kenya. So this is one of the most important part of Chevening, actually, the essays, because Chevening wants to invest in you. So for them to invest in you, you have to really show them that this is my plan, this is what I need to do, even if it's not what you're going to do because it's unpredictable, the future is unpredictable, but they really want you to lay down what you want to do in your short-term goal, in your mid-term, and in your long-term. And we have Wanjiru here to take us through the career plan section. So a bit about Wanjiru. So Wanjiru also is a current Chevening Scholar from Kenya. She is an experienced built environment professional and holds a bachelor's degree in quantity surveying and is currently pursuing a master's degree in design and management of sustainable built environments at the University of Reading. And I'll welcome Wanjiru to take us through the last part of the essays. Welcome, Wanjiru.
All right, thank you very much, Frida. Maybe just a slight correction there. I'll be handling the study in the UK. I think Wanjiko should be the one doing the career plan next. Yeah?
Oh, okay, sorry.
You are not wrong.
Okay.
All righty, no problem. Yeah, so like Frida says, my name is Wanjiru, and I'll be looking at what you need to do in terms of writing a proper study in the UK essay. So before you write this essay, you need to do a lot of research. I think for me, this is one of the essays I really enjoyed working on because I think I enjoy research. So I just dove right into the websites, you know, all these universities, trying to figure out what course do I want to study, where is it offered, why would I choose this university over the other, what are my future, you know, career goals, the kind of masters that I want to do, how does that relate to my career goals? So I would advise before you start writing this essay, please do a lot of research. In the course of my 10-minute presentation, you will hear me talk about research 1,001 times. It's just because I cannot overemphasize how much research you need to do when it comes to this essay. So the question reads, outline why you have selected your chosen 3 university courses and explain how this relates to your previous academic or professional experience in your plans for the future. So from the first bit of that question, you need to choose 3 university courses. And I've seen some people asking on the chats whether the courses need to be similar, whether, in DS it is, the courses need to be similar. Like, for example, we have said I'm doing an MSc in Design and Management of Sustainable Built Environments. The other courses I had applied to was Sustainable Mega Buildings at Cardiff University. I had also applied for another course called, I think, Sustainable Buildings at a different university. So you can see all the 3 courses, they're basically related. They're talking about sustainable buildings, sustainable construction. So the course title could be slightly different. Like you see, I had one called Sustainable Mega Buildings. This is one I'm doing now called Design and Management of Sustainable Built Environments. I mean, the course title could be different, but the content needs to be related. What I mean is, you cannot choose your first choice as, say, an MSc or an LLB in, sorry, Sylvia, if I'm mutilating the name of your course, you cannot say that, like, the first choice is, say, an MSc in law, the second one is something clinical psychology, and the third one, I don't know, something like international development. No, you can't do that. They all need to be same topics, I mean, same field. So you need to select your 3 chosen universities. And how do you select your 3 universities? One, you have to think about your career. What are you currently doing? Let's even start and backtrack a bit. What did you do in your undergrad? What's your background, educational background? What is your professional background? Yes, like for me, I'll be giving a lot of examples with, my case. My undergraduate was in quantity surveying. Basically, that's doing costing for buildings before they're built. So, and I have shown how I have work experience in that area. So now the course I wanted to come do in my master's needed to be related to my background, which is in construction. So I could not come and say I want to do a course in clinical medicine, for example. I have no background, it has no relation to my background. So make sure that the course you're going to select needs to be very related to your previous academic experience and your professional experience. There are some instances where I have seen people like do a career, a shift, and there's a way, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that question. Maybe the rest of the panelists can handle that. But I have seen people who have taken like a shift, but you need to be very, very convincing in your essays. And when you proceed to the interview stage, you need to be very convincing why you're making that shift. So in writing your essay, you need to start with a brief introduction of that sort of ties in your background and where you're headed. You will say, this is my experience, this is where I am at right now, and in my future, this is what I want to do. You could probably say something like in my case, I gave an example about like a brief description of the construction industry in Kenya, and I outlined the knowledge gaps that I had identified in the construction industry. And those knowledge gaps are what I wanted now to come and fill with the knowledge that I'll go get in the UK. So you need to be able to link the course you're going to do to a specific area, like what new knowledge are you going to contribute to your profession, to your area? Why do you want to study in the UK, right? And why not anywhere else? What is that specific thing that you will be looking to gain, and how will you come back to your country and implement those skills? So for me, I mentioned that there was a gap in terms of professionals who are well versed in sustainable construction. You may probably heard of things like green buildings, sustainable buildings, energy efficient buildings. So I realized that the Kenyan construction market had a gap in such professionals. So for me, the kind of course I was looking at doing was one that was going to equip me with the knowledge that would allow me to come back to Kenya and sort that sort of problem I had identified. So you need to do the same for your course. The course you're going to do needs to equip you with knowledge that will help you come back and sort specific problems in Kenya. So do a lot of research when it comes to that. So then the next thing now is to research on the courses. You need to apply to 3 courses like I mentioned, and how you decide which university you're going to. Remember, the UK has so many universities. So how do you decide I'm going to University A and not University B? So you need to research each course. For example, like what I did, I did a short list of several courses that sounded interesting to me. So I did a list. I think I had like number 1 to number 11 of the courses I had wanted to do. And then I went to each and every one of them, go to the websites of these universities, read. So I want to do sustainable mega buildings at Cardiff University. What does this course offer? What are the modules that they offer? What does each one of them entail? So yes, they're going to teach us about, say, energy efficiency in buildings. What does that entail? What are the learning outcomes of each and every one of these modules? And does that relate to what I want to, the kind of knowledge that I'm looking for? So item, rather module by module, go rating. And then you rank them. So I'll be like, this one, maybe ranks 50%. Next one, 60%. Next one, maybe 80%, until I get my top 3 that rank, say, 95% and above. And those are the courses I will apply to. So when you're in your essay, when you're describing, because you need to explain why you chose those specific courses, you need to be able to show the reader that you have done your research you know what the course entails, you know, specific modules. And I like that Josiah even mentioned going to the detail of even inquiring or researching who are the lecturers in those modules. You could probably say something like, I chose this course because one of these modules, say the energy efficiency module, is is taught by this particular lecturer or this particular professor whose background is in ABCD. They have written papers in ABCD, and I know that in my interaction with them is going to help me, gain this kind of knowledge, or having that professor as my dissertation supervisor is going to help me in ABCD. So the reader needs to see that you have done thorough research, that you're not just writing back to them what is on the university website. I mean, anyone can write that. And remember, Chevening is it's highly, highly, highly competitive. So what will set you apart, what will make you become the 2% that is chosen, is dependent purely on how unique your essays will be and how well researched and well detailed your arguments are. So do your research on that. The next thing you need to do is, of course, now rank them. So we'll be saying my first choice is the ABCD because of, and give the reasons. At times you could give rankings. Rankings also help to show like the weight of the university. Don't dwell too much on them, but if, for example, maybe your course, the course that you want to do is maybe highly ranked in the UK or in the world, it could be a good thing to mention. Like the course I'm doing is ranked 4th, I think, in the UK, and my campus is ranked 4th greenest in the UK. And for me, that was important to mention, because I mean, I'm doing sustainability, a sustainability course. I needed to show how even the choice of my university was very specific and directed towards me being in an environment that cares about sustainability and all. So if you find such data or such ranking that is highly aimed at just giving more credibility to your course or to your university, you could also mention that. So in a nutshell, you would need to make sure that your essay, you're able to clearly demonstrate that you've done a thorough research of your courses, a thorough research of your universities. I mean, someone needs to see that. The next thing, you need to make sure that your essay covers, I'm giving a summary here. The next thing that you need to make sure is that you have given detailed arguments on the relevance of your master's degree to your profession. So this is one essay that you cannot write without being clear also on your career plan. You also need to be very clear about your career plan. Then also it is good to link, find a way of linking this course that you're doing, link it towards, they're called UK's priority areas. So I think every year or every series of years, the UK will have like a list of their priority areas. So they could maybe, the priority areas could be things like sustainable agriculture, I don't know, something to do with health, something to do with sustainable construction. So I find that it helps if your course, you're able to link the course that you're going to do with one of the UK's priority areas. Remember, I don't know who mentioned, this is an investment that the UK is making in you. And like every other investment, it has to bear a return. So how is the UK going to benefit by funding you? These are fully funded scholarships. So how is the UK going to benefit by funding you? So in your conclusion, concluding your essay, you need to clearly show how studying in the UK is going to help you come back and address a specific need, a specific problem that you have identified in your field. You need to show that link, that very clear link, because it's not just about sending you to school. How are you going to come and help your country? Remember, one of the things when you're chosen for Chevening, one of the things you'll have to do is sign a document that says that you will have to come back to your country because again, they want you to come and implement that knowledge that you have attained in the UK. You need to come back and implement that in your country. So you also need to give a link, a clear link, and show how your chosen course is going to help you come and implement or come and solve whatever problems, or come and improve whatever it is that you want to improve in your country. Yeah, so I think I have covered everything. I think I've mentioned everything I needed to mention. So yeah, research, research, research. And I'm done. Over to you, Frida. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angelo, for that. Sorry, I made a mistake. I thought you were to handle the last part, but we have Ngigi to handle the last part, that is the career plan. And as I mentioned, career plan is very important. It's like the UK is investing in you, so they want you to highlight a clear plan that you have. So it may not necessarily what you'll do, because things change over time, but they need to know what you plan to do immediately you come back and your long-term career goals. So I'll invite Wanjiku Ngigi to take us through the last part of the essays. So a bit about Wanjiku is that she's also a current Chevening Scholar. She is a multi-potentialite interested in positively influencing Africa through championing better healthcare and service delivery. After medical school, she went into clinical practice and felt the need for better health systems. This drove her to undertake masters in health policy, planning, and financing. She is currently pursuing her masters at LSE, London School of Economics. Welcome, Wanjiku, and to take us through the last part of the session, that is the career.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much, Frida, for the introduction. And these are pleasant presentations that I have had. So as you have heard, my name is Wanjiku. I'm Wanjiku Ngigi, and I will take you through the career change and relevance essays. So what we'll cover is, what is it about? Why is it important? Then how to write it, and then we'll just get into the summary and then relevant questions if time allows. So what perhaps you have gathered as you've listened through this discussion is that the Chevening Secretariat is trying to get a picture of who you are. So you need to have a flowing story, as my colleagues have said. You need to give a story that is believable, but is flowing across the essays. So if there's an incongruence, there's a high chance that you won't get the scholarship, right? So your career essay is very important in piecing together your identity to the Chevening Secretariat, because they don't know who you are. It's a strictly merit-based scholarship. So you need to get that very clear, that you need to have a flow in the structure. So when you come to the Chevening essay, your mindset is the most important thing towards it. And the first thing that you should consider is, as Wanjiru rightly put it, this is an investment being made, and you need to give a high return on investment. When you're coming to the UK, you're not coming to just make yourself wealthy and just have fun and it stops there. The government is investing in you so that you can go back home and build home, and go out there and establish networks globally and do the best you can. So that mindset is very important, because that is what they're looking for. So it is highly unlikely that you will get it if you look like you are getting into a money mindset. Like, I just want to go there, get into a program that will get me money. It can be seen, right? Your essays have a voice. So you need to think about that as you're going in. And basically the career essay is important because they need to see, as I said, how your trajectory is going to positively impact the world. So how do you write this essay? I would say, one, know your why. Because people tend to just start writing because there's this pressure. I need to write this essay and submit. You need to slow down and ask yourself, what is my why? Why? One, do I want to get into the scholarship? Two, why do I want to pursue this MSc or master's program? Three, why do I want to do what I want to do and why my trajectory. That question being answered will help you answer all of these essays, and especially the career essay. For example, I'm a medical doctor. I'm passionate about positively impacting healthcare in Africa, and especially in the area of financing. So I want to see a better world, but I'm specific to Africa's needs, right? So that is my why. And so if I have that very clear, it'll be very easy to come down to how I'm going to get to that goal, okay? So that is the first thing. It gives you purpose, and purpose will give you the, the speed and the ability to write well. All right, so I'm just going to give an example of what we were asked. Chevening is looking for individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please outline your immediate plans upon returning home and your longer-term career goals. You may wish to consider how these relate to what the UK government is doing in your country. Minimum word count, 100 words, maximum word count, 500 words. The first trick, answer every part of the question. It's literally there. One, they're looking for an individual with a clear post-study career plan. So you need to have a clear post-study career plan. That's the first thing. The second thing, you need to highlight immediate plans, like immediately you get home. Because when you sign against the Chevening Scholarship and the things you need to do and consider, one of the things they insist on is that you need to finish, go back to your country of origin for a minimum of 2 years, and then you can spread out and continue with your career as you have thought about, right? So you need to have a plan for when you come back home, all right? So immediate plans, and then your longer term career goals. So you're not lost for what to write. You have short term and you have longer term goals. And then finally, you may wish to consider how these relate to what the UK government is doing in your country. They're giving you a kicker. They're telling you, okay, as you're writing this, you need to consider what the UK is already doing, because if I have a business, for instance, I will choose employees who are already in line with what I'm doing. So it is unlikely that the UK government will fund you if your goals do not mirror what they're already doing in your country or among the Commonwealth or globally, all right? So on to the nitty-gritties. We have the short term, middle term, and long term. Short term, we can say 0 to 2 years. Middle or mid term, we can say 3 to 5 years, and onwards, all right? So reduce the fluff. You have 500 words to make it happen. Don't start with when I was a child. I've always, no. Hit it in the jugular. The jugular is here for any medic who's here. It's a vein. So 0 to 2 years, say what you'll do when you get back. You may have taken a sabbatical from work. This is the time you say you'll come back to your workplace and do da, 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 da. Maybe you're pivoting. And so, for example, I'm a medical doctor. I was in clinical practice. I'm pivoting to a more administrative policy-making kind of place. So, you put that into account. 0 to 2 years, I'm not coming back to work as a medical doctor. I'm coming back to start setting up structures. I'm coming back to partner with a particular group. I'm coming back to put, my own facility up, right? That will offer promotive, preventive, and curative healthcare measures, okay? So you are literally putting together that idea that you're coming back to something, you're hitting the ground running, right? And then 3 to 5 years, you have a vision of how you want things to look after that. Will you scale up whatever you said you'll build? Will you continue working? Will you go somewhere else? What are you thinking in that regard? This could be the time where you will really be heavy on the networks, right, that you have picked up from the UK. All along, you will work with them ideally, but 3 to 5 years, what we need to see the muscle, we need to see the meat of the matter. The people that you connected with here in the UK, will you be able to rope in those connections and advance, right? So this is where I go like, okay, so I made a connection from the United Nations, I made a connection from World Bank. So I'm going to ask for funding to do ABC, and then I'm going to establish 1, 2, 3, right? And then finally onwards is 5+ years. So you can get ambitious here. This is a place where you talk about where you ideally want to be, hashtag Ben Carson, gifted hands. this is where you kind of create that picture of the future. You are a leader by the time you're writing these essays. So you are visionary, right? You need to create that picture. Now, your writing needs to be structured in the format of SMART goals. You're putting together your career plan, but it needs to have things which are specific, measurable, attainable, time-bound. Definitely, you need to have all those things in place. For instance, when I wrote my essay, when I said I'm coming back, I said at that time, I said I would come back and continue with my medical practice, my facility. I would focus on preventive, promotive, and curative health measures. And then I gave details of where that would continue to be, details of the population I'll be serving, and how my practice will increase or improve their health. And then I talked about, as Wanjiru said, I talked about what the UK is already doing. So they have the UK-Kenyan partnership called Kenya-UK Health Alliance that's working towards achieving universal health coverage. And I said I would work with them and I would, sort of piece things together so that I can reduce the health inequity in the region that I'm serving. And so you get the trend. I hope that you will need to put together your goals, make them SMART, involve the UK in terms of what the UK is doing in your country, i.e. Kenya, and then kind of advance to that. So remember, show, don't tell. Don't be so keen to just say, I will have a medical practice, or I will come back to my workplace, or I will be the president of Kenya, and then you fail to show the nuances under that. Be keen to show, not tell. That's very important. Anything else that I wanted to add? I will send links, maybe through the chat, of some of the resources that I also used in my writing. Identifying the key areas where the UK is working with the Kenyan government is easy. You can find it on the DFID platform, the Department for International Development, so that you can sort of get the UK priority areas. The career essay would have ideally maybe 2 to 3 paragraphs. I had a number. I had 5, 6 paragraphs because I put each year collective into its own paragraph. For example, 0 to 2 years, I put it in one paragraph, 3 to 5 years in another, and onwards in another. And then I had my conclusion paragraph. So that was the structure of my essay. And the conclusion bit of the essay involved me summarizing everything I've said and kind of piecing together what my dreams are, what skills I will gather from the Chevening Scholarship. Sorry, that was my timer. And what me getting into the scholarship will benefit the body, the Chevening Secretariat, or the team in. So that is it. In summary, know your why, be brief, remember to show, not tell, be structured in your approach, be orderly, remember to loop in the UK priority areas, write a powerful conclusion, and tell a believable story.
Thank you so much, Wanjiru. That was really, really excellent and insightful, and how you broke down the stages of the essays, how you can start and how you can end. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And now we are done with the presentations. I think we've been answering a number of questions that you had in the chat, but now I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions. So I think I'll take, if you can raise your hand and then you take questions, a few questions before we end the meeting, that would be great. So if you have any question that has not been answered in the chat, kindly feel free to ask it now. Okay, we go. Simon, go ahead. Let's start with Simon. Okay. Kindly go ahead, Simon. You are mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Frida, and all the scholars, Chevening scholars who have participated in this presentation. This are amazing, amazing. So my question is simple and brief. One of the most important thing about getting selected is the quality of the essays, and that has been echoed through this presentation. Would you, as scholars, Chevening, help someone, for example, to review their essays?
Hi, Simon. Yes, actually, most of us are really reviewing essays right now. So I know some of us may be willing. So if you can reach out to any of us, we'll be glad to review your essays if they are ready. Yeah. Okay. We go to iPad.
Okay, thank you so much. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you so much for the session. It's been very insightful and very benefiting. So my question would be, for scholars who have applied to LSE, how has the application been like? Maybe for some universities that ask for maybe a fee for the application, is it paid on upfront, or there are ways to go about that? Maybe if you can shed light on that. Thank you.
Yeah, so before they answer that, I think Josiah and Wanjiku can answer that. So before they answer, let's go to Collins.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So my question is about when writing your essays. For example, you have one incident or one occasion that can perhaps generate for you 2 or more essays. For example, you did an event. Out of it, you have a networking scenario and you have a leadership scenario. Would you guys advise perhaps you proceed to develop the 2 different scenarios from the same event or activity, or that will be very narrow for you as a writer?
Yeah, so before we go to the next maybe questions, I'll give a chance to Josiah and Wanjiku to answer the LSE question, and maybe to answer Collins a bit. For what I know is that I think that is what gives your essays a wholesome look, like a continuous, something that it's a story from the start to the end. For me, I had the same situation. My example in leadership continued in the networking section, but now focused on how I networked. So you can have one experience and you have a moment whereby it really showcased your leadership and influencing, and then the other part really showcased where you how you networked. So for me, I broke those down. So I had one example in the leadership influence, and then I continued as if it was a story and showed how I networked. So I think it also depends with how you bring them out to really stand out and not be repetitive, like you don't sound like you're repeating yourself. So I'll just, I don't know if that is sufficient, but I'll call upon Josiah and Wanjiku as they answer the LSE question. They can also chip into Colin's question before we go to the other people to ask questions. So Josiah or Wanjiku.
Yes, sure. iPad, your question about LSE and the £80 now current application fee. I tell you what, I paid that fee because I really wanted to get into LSE, and because it was difficult getting a waiver. Interestingly, I am told they waive, but I don't know how. So you might try to ask them to waive it for you. But certainly, when it is your first choice and you the deadline for submitting that acceptance is coming, sometimes you have to make certain sacrifices. Yeah, and my take on that other question is yes, you can stretch your one example to give it either perspective of or networking or leadership. It all depends with how you showcase that. And I agree with Frida on how to craft that. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Josiah. So on just to answer iPad actually, LSE also does waiver. Actually, I applied to LSE and I got a waiver. They have a form. If you really go through the website, there is just a very simple form that you need to fill why you need the waiver. And yes, I was fortunate enough to get a waiver from LSE. So if you are considering to apply to LSE and you need to try your luck with the waiver fee, you can reach out and maybe I can guide you through that. So we'll go to the next one, Chidinma. Yes. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I have 3 questions. So for my first question, there was a lot of mention about having a story behind why you want to study a group of courses or a particular course. And I just want to ask, for those who don't really have a story in quotes, how exactly do they express their interest? So for instance, I have a very strong interest in terrorism and violent extremism, and any person would probably say, okay, I experienced a terrorist attack once, and that is why I want to study this course to bring up issues to counter terrorism and all that. But if you are not in that situation, how exactly can you express your interest? That's one. Then my second question is concerning the essays. So there was we were told that we can use one example for the 2 essays on networking and leadership. But can we also decide to use separate examples so that we don't end up mixing them up? Because there was the person who mentored us on the networking essay said that we can talk about our mentees and how they have developed under us and what they have gone forward to do because of the training we gave them. And it sounded like something that could also fall under leadership. So how exactly can we, separate both essays? And then my last question is concerning like the scholarships, the scholarship timeline itself and application for the individual courses in different schools. So if you have a situation where they could clash or something like that, or we lose our application for the courses, I don't know if anything like that could happen.
Thank you, Chidma, for the questions.
I think she's
I
lost.
can call on anyone among the facilitators willing to answer the question.
Are you?
Hi, Josiah, do you want to answer the question? Sylvia?
Frida, I'd like to answer one of the questions.
Go ahead, thank you.
So I'll answer the first question about how you show your story, even if you've not gone through whatever you're writing about. I think I had texted the same on the chat, but I want to give you an example. I work with persons with disability. It's not my career or anything. It's just something I volunteer or I do on the side. So I used that as one of my major examples in my leadership and even justifying why I wanted to do the course I wanted and even my career. But I do not have a disability. I do not have a relative with disability. I've never experienced that. However, I have seen how persons with disability suffer or the kind of challenges they go through in life. And I wanted to make it, and I wanted to make a change. It doesn't mean, for me to make a change, it doesn't mean I have to have suffered through that. So I just offered to volunteer with a friend of mine who I know from university. And that's an example of networking, by the way. Somebody I know from university who has a disability and he has a community-based organization that he runs, and I help him to do the administrative work, writing and applying for grants and such. So as long as you can still own that story and make it relevant to your vision and your dream, but make it relevant especially to your purpose and the goal that we talked about at the beginning. I think that's what I wanted to highlight.
Thank you so much, Maidera. Okay, before we get more responses, I'll give chance to 2 or 3 more people to ask their questions. Benazir, Go ahead. You are mute. Benazir, if you're speaking, you're on mute. We can go to Michael. Michael, then Nick. Oh, sorry, I need to unmute you. Josiah, can you, it's okay. Can you try to unmute Benazir? As we wait for Benazir, Nick, feel free, or Michael, or Moshe.
All right, thank you. My name is Nicholas.
Okay.
Thank you, team, for your elaborate presentations. That was really insightful. I would want just to be brief on the question. Now, mine is an inquiry on your, understanding and experience on eligibility.
Can anyone hear us?
Hello? I hope you can hear me. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I was asking, my issue is on eligibility. I checked on the Chevening website, and there is a requirement that says that you have to have one non-conditional or unconditional offer to a UK university. Now, let me say, actually, I haven't done a lot of search on requirements and those issues, but now that I have an opportunity to have you guys who have already applied, I hope it's not out of ignorance I'm asking, but I'm asking, if you are applying for 3 courses, I mean, assuming it's from different universities, how possible is it for you to get an unconditional offer, and especially knowing that for you to get an unconditional offer, you probably have to make some deposit in terms of school fees? Has any one of you gone through such, or is it that you guys, all of you, got offers from the university and you are able to pay for it to be regarded as an unconditional? Because I got one offer from my university in the UK, that is Stirling University, and my offer has remained as a conditional offer until I am able to make a payment of around 6,000 euros. I mean, so, which is really high and not immediately achievable, looking at the deadline for Chevening. And then, so basically my issue is on those issues of eligibility. And the next part is, do they accept applications from somebody who did not have a second upper? Like if you have a second lower and you have got enough experience and you have already got an admission to the UK university, is there maybe an outright answer from, especially someone who is experienced? Any response from you guys?
Hi, Nick. So to answer your first question about unconditional offer, I think the deadline for unconditional letter is next year, July 15th. So that's quite a long time. So yes, most universities, maybe some, require that you pay a deposit before they make your offer unconditional. And that is totally okay. You don't need to make the deposit because you can tell them that you're a Chevening Scholar and you're waiting for your results, something like that. And they can maybe hold your offer until that time you're selected as the Chevener, and then they'll exempt you for Chevening will do that, like in terms of after being selected as a Chevener, then you won't have to pay the deposit. So for now, the only thing that you can do is inform them that you're a Chevening Scholar, and you can explain that you're a Chevening Scholar, you're waiting for results, you've applied for the scholarship, and your condition will still be conditional, which that is not bad because you don't have to have an unconditional even when going to your interview. So you'll get to know your results after getting selected, and then by that time, things will fall in place. You won't have to pay the deposit.
So maybe just a clarity. Sorry, I hope I'm not interrupting you. My question was, when you're applying for a Chevening scholarship, there is a requirement that says that you have to have at least one unconditional offer to a UK university. So what you have explained is quite okay in terms of that I can argue or request the university to wait until I get the results. But what do you do when you're applying for the scholarship and they are saying at least you show one unconditional offer?
The deadline, I think you read the entire statement, is unconditional letter by July 15th, 2024. I think around that time. I don't know if it's July or June 15th, 2024. So up to next year, 2024. So for now, you don't have to.
All right.
Yes, the deadline is next year, 2024, around June. The next one, yes,
I can jump in on that. For Chevening, they don't consider a deposit. Like, let me backtrack. If your conditional offer is purely based on you paying a deposit, to Chevening, they don't see that as a condition. They will treat it as an unconditional offer. So if you have a conditional offer and you're applying to Chevening, and the only condition is fee payment or deposit payment, that is okay to Chevening. They will not. I mean, you're okay. They know if they award you the scholarship, then they will pay the fees for you. So if the condition is only fees, just go ahead and upload that conditional offer on the portal. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjiro.
On eligibility?
Yeah.
The other part was on eligibility. Any experience?
You had asked about if you have a degree which is not a second upper.
Yes, a second
like
lower.
if it's like a second lower, this is mainly dependent on the universities you're applying to. There are some that are very, very specific. It has to be a second upper, or what they will write like 2.2.
Yeah.
2.2 or 2.1. I confused the two,
but
but
for the upper.
2.2 is for the second upper. Yeah, so there are some that will really require you to have a second upper. There are some, I have seen some that will take you even when you have a second lower. So check with the specific universities that you want to apply to.
But it's not a condition for the scholarship, right?
No, it's not.
All right, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Benazir, if you can unmute, or Michael or Michelle. Gibson, anyone who can unmute and just, I don't know if you are able or you are unable to. I don't know. Just,
Hi, Frida. I'd first like to appreciate the panelists for the very informative session. I wanted to request if you're able to share with us the video recording, because there were very important points that you noted, and personally speaking for myself, I might not have captured everything and I would love to refer. So if you're able to share with us the recording on email, I'd highly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I think we have your email addresses and we'll do that. We'll share the recording with you after the meeting. Okay. So anyone who has their hands raised, you can just go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, this is Michael. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
I'd like to echo Michelle's request if you can share the recording. And also I wanted to know how long does it take once you've completed the application for responses to start trickling
in? Frida, I would like to answer a question in the chat. So
okay.
Ruth has answered, but possibly I can echo that alongside with what Michael is asking. Basically, when the applications close in November, you will probably hear about the first screening. So whether your essays have gone through around, is it February? I think we got our invitations to the interview in February. So normally the unsuccessful emails, regrets, regrets come first for the people who have not been successful in the essay part. And then those who have been invited into the interview a few days later. After the interview invitation, normally interviews will happen between that February until possibly the end of April or around there. It really depends on the year and how many applicants there are in your country. And then after April, you get your award letter if you have been successful from June, if I'm not wrong. So it's like give yourself like more than 6 months or so. So you need to be doing something in the meantime as you wait. Do not just, you also need to look at your universities, whether they offer scholarships and stuff like that. But it's a long process. I remember one of the scholars saying that one of the key core values they learned through this process is patience. Patience, patience, patience. And your story has to be exactly consistent and the same throughout this entire period. So as we said, if you lied in September, in the interview taking place in April, you forgot what you said. So that's why it's important. I wanted to answer Benazir that Wanjiru has said something about the leadership, but he's asking where in a case where your current job and your leadership journey are not the same, how best can you align this? They can be totally different. Your current job and where you want to go can be different. Like Wanjiko said, that you may want to do a career switch, but remember what I said in the beginning, your motivation, your purpose, and your goal has to be the same. Like they all have to converge at some point. So as much as they're different, just show how they relate to what you really want, what inspires you, and who you are as a person. That's what I would say regarding that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Waibera, for that. Okay, there is another question. I don't know if this is answered, I don't know. So if you have your hands raised and you have a question, feel free to unmute and just ask your question.
Frida, let me answer a question that I'm seeing on the chat that has been asked over and over and over again, and it's about the university choices, the three university choices. Someone is asking whether it's best to choose one course in 3 universities or different courses that are similar in different universities. And my answer to that is that it really doesn't matter whether you decide you're choosing one course title in all the 3 universities. The bottom line is whatever courses you choose, the 3 courses, they have to be related in terms of content. The name could be different, the titles of the courses could be different, but ensure that the content is similar. So actually, you could even find similar courses in the same universities or similar courses in different universities. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure that the course content is similar. Yeah.
Thank you, Wanjiru, for that. I don't know if you have any more questions. I think there are several questions in the chat. I don't know if they have all been answered. Gibson, if you can just take this chance to ask your question that you've written in the chat. Okay. Okay, so it seems Gibson, I don't know if you can ask your question or any other person before we close the session. Okay. Michael is asking, could you also give us a brief of what the interview process looks like once you get the invite? It's okay, the interview process is anxiety. Okay, I would say it's okay, I don't know how to say it. It's really subjective, but once you get the invite to the interview, you have a chance to select a date for your interview. Normally, they're always clustered according to fields. Then you select the date and the time. Generally, the interview is always online nowadays, and it's 30 minutes on Teams, Microsoft Teams. We always have a panel of 3 to 4. And yeah, it's just more about preparation. It's anxiety, it's you preparing to pitch for yourself. So I don't know how to say it actually. Maybe Wanjiru or somebody can talk about that. But for now, basically, we're just focusing on the essays before we go to the interview. Yeah.
Maybe I think
yeah.
Why did you go first?
It's actually, it's Wanji. Okay, it's Sylvia. I just wanted to say that the interview will be good if your essays are good. That would be my advice. So I feel like it's 70% essay. If your essays are good, because even in terms of statistics, that's where they get that's where the shortlisting happens. The shortlisting, yes, it happens also at interview stage, but if you make it through the essay stage, then you've really done more than half of the work to get to the interview stage. So maybe that would then require for Josiah to convene us again. Then we could have a session on interview stage at that point. But for me, I think if you just bulk up your essays, make sure that they're really, really good. They've been reviewed, they're flowing, it's one storyline, then you'll be good to go. Yeah.
Thank you, Sylvia, for that. But for now, like the main focus, just one step at a time, just do your essays to your best of ability. It will be very easy for you in the interview because you'll be talking about what you know and your story. So maybe we take 1, 2 last questions. And yes, we are going to send the recording to, because we have your email addresses, so we are going to send them. Stacy, Alfred, I don't know if you've asked your questions. Feel free to just unmute and ask your questions.
As they unmute Frida, there's a question I was trying to answer Helen in the chat, but I think I would rather, it's a bit hard to type. She's asking if you have a background in agriculture and currently you're working as a clerk in a textile industry, but you would like to get a scholarship related to your background because it's your area of interest and passion, how do these two make a good essay when doing essays? I mean, I think that's a very common situation for many of us, especially because coming across work or a job that is related to your interest is not easy, especially immediately after graduation. So many of us find ourselves, you just take whatever job you find on the way, and you still want to do what your passion is. So I would say, Helen and anybody else, is that you need to lean, even when you're doing this job that is not what you're passionate about, you need to remember what your goal and purpose is. I keep repeating these things, but like we said, it needs to be a story. Like your story needs to be very consistent. Why are you doing this? Why are you passionate about agriculture? What exactly is it that you want to achieve in the end? So even in this textile industry, whatever you are doing, are you able to lean in your goals, or like, are you able to do something that's related to what your purpose is? Maybe, I don't know why you want to be in agriculture, possibly is to improve food security or to make sure people get access to nutritious diet. Are you able to replicate something very similar, like such kind of, helping people become healthier, even in the textile industry? It could be something as simple as advocating for better meals. Are you making people aware of farming methods or what they should be eating? It could be you advocate for like healthier snacks during break time. I don't know. You find a way to link where you are right now. Do not forget what your goal is. Still look at it and try to do something that will lead you towards your goal. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for that. So I think we've covered almost everything and all the questions we've handled. Actually, we may not have handled your questions, but if you check the Chevening website, it has everything that you may need. If you just take your time to go through the entire website, there's so much to go through, and there's so much like information to get from the Chevening website, and everything that we've done or talked about is just a disclaimer, like it's subjective, like it's just us. But if you want to get first-hand information, again, make Chevening website your very, very good friend. And I think we may end the session right now. I don't know, maybe I give a last chance to Abdirizak, and then we end the session. Abdirizak, here. If you have a question, let's end with you. Are you able to ask your question?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just want to ask one last question. I think somebody talked about the career plan that you want, for example, when you are writing, that you want to come back to your country and build do something in your country from the skills that you have gained from the UK. I have another case where I'm currently working outside the country. Okay, so what about if, for example, I still want to, like, for example, say I want to stay outside Kenya still. So can I now choose I want to contribute like the African context outside Kenya? Okay, like I just want to continue with the area where I am now outside Kenya or in Africa or any other part of the country. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I can I can try to answer that question. Thank you, Abdirazak, for your question. When you are applying from a place that is not your country of origin, I think they will make considerations for that. But my question is, are you in a Commonwealth country? Because the Chevening Scholarship can only be if you're in a Commonwealth country. And then you need to have the story that you give needs to be convincing. By story, I mean the picture of yourself and your vision has to be crystal to them so that they can see, okay, this person is not in, maybe I come from Kenya, but I'm living in Morocco. Like, okay, this woman, she lives in Morocco, but she's very passionate about where she is. She's seeing gaps in her area of expertise. So we can fund her so that she can make a change in Morocco. It would not hurt to talk about your country of origin as well. The point is, they're investing in you. You need to make a positive impact where you are. But my colleagues can also contribute.
Yeah, I'm from Kenya and I work in Somalia, and I just want to also extend and continue working in Somalia and do the community work and also nation building.
That works really well, to be honest, unless anyone else has anything to say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining the session, and thank you so much to our facilitators for creating time to pay it forward to the incoming Chevening Scholars. So we wish you all the very best in your applications, in writing your essays. Remember to be authentic, genuine, consistent in your essays, and just go for it. You have everything to be the next Chevening Scholar. So all the very best in your application, and we look forward to welcome you as the next scholars next year. Okay, if any facilitator has any questions, but feel free to now leave the meeting and probably see you next time.